Okay. Good afternoon, OggCamp. How are you? Everybody all right? Looking pretty well? Do I want a clicker? No, I'm going to do it the caveman way. I'm just going to keep tapping it when I feel like it. So my name's Graham. I'm here to ask and answer the question, what is an engineering office and why would you want one? You want one so that people like me can have a job. That's the main thing. Now I'm going to go through some things. I will apologize first. I'm going to be walking around partly because I need to get my steps in, also because I'm incredibly jet-lagged and highly caffeinated right now. So I just want to lay that out. I'm going to talk for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll have 5 to 10 minutes of questions if there are any. I'm based in Japan, so I will not be insulted if nobody has questions. So that's fine, don't worry about that. A little bit about me, just to add some context. My name is Graham. I'm originally from Grimsby. Does anybody know where Grimsby is? A couple of people, okay. Nobody ran for the exits, that's good. Pretty much no one in Japan knows where Grimsby is, so I tell them it is one of Europe's most luxury resorts. Right now, I live in a place called Shonan, about 45 minutes southwest of Tokyo on the Pacific coast. It is a luxury resort. That's where I went. So I've been working in this company called Mercari. I'll talk about them in a minute. For about 4.5 years. I've been in Japan for about 20 years. So if anyone has questions afterwards about Japan or working in Japan, let me know. So let's talk about Mercari. I'm a big fan of Mercari, partly because they employ me, partly because they subsidize me to come here and talk. So I appreciate that. So Mercari itself, let's talk about what they are. So it was founded in 2012. It was actually Japan's first tech unicorn. When it IPO'd, it went over $1 billion USD at the time. We have about 2,100 employees, plus some contractors. Engineers, we have about 580, plus some contractors. I say that just to give you an idea of scope for later on when we talk about how big some of the organizations are. We have offices, our main office is in Tokyo. We're in the Roppongi district. We have an office in Fukuoka, which is kind of to the southwest. That's where a lot of our customer support teams are. And we also have a development office in Bangalore in India. So our product, yes, haven't mentioned what we actually do. So we make a web app and a website for, in Japan we would call it a flea market. So if you imagine eBay, something like that, we kind of do that in Japan. We're 60% of the market in Japan. We also have some things in the States. We also have branched out now into Taiwan. So we're kind of expanding around Asia. It's mainly C2C. We do some B2C stuff. We have some auctions. We have a payment system, so you can go into shops in Japan, you can pay for things with Merpay, which is our payment product as well. So that's pretty good. 1 in 5 Japanese people are active monthly users, which still kind of blows my mind because that's 20-something million people. So, right. Talk about the engineering office. So yes, I work in an engineering office. We report into the CTO. He's a very nice man called Kimura-san. And it's made up of 3 sub-teams, which I'll talk about in the next slide. And basically what we do is we try to work between the engineering team and inside the engineering team and the different business support roles. So we try to help people understand what engineering is doing, and we try to bring in the requirements from the rest of the business into engineering and get that done as well. This is often seen as something of a difficult kind of area, kind of bridging these gaps between technical and non-technical. I would argue it's not that difficult if you kind of take the right approach, and we'll kind of go through that. So that the software development people can do what they do, business people can do what they do, everyone is happy. All the time, honest. So there's 3 main teams in the engineering office. Engineering information, engineering strategy, growth and experience. This one is my team, so I'm going to be very biased towards this team. So we all look after different aspects. My team at the moment is mainly looking at knowledge management. So that's all to do with migrations, health checks on our different knowledge bases, be it Atlassian, Confluence, Jira, Notion, all these kind of things. We also look about scalability. We look at information life cycles to make sure that documentation is created, and then when it's no longer any use, we get rid of it. And we also do a bit of work with the security team for things like asset management and things like this as well. So we talk a lot with the asset management and the security team. Engineering strategy. They look after budgeting, which is super popular. Everybody always wants to talk about budgeting. Monday morning, people knocking on the door, let's talk about budgeting. Super popular. Engineering principals will come into. They also organize internal hackathons. They look after the engineering roadmap with the CTO team. They're on Tech PR, which I'll also be talking about, which is actually how we promote technology within the business. They also help some other teams with some program management, and they also do software capitalization, which is another super popular thing that everybody wants to talk about, which we'll get to. And then the last team, growth and experience, they look after a lot of the engineering feedback. They look at onboarding when people join the company, when people move teams, and things like this to make sure we don't lose knowledge within the business. They also handle a lot of communication issues. They do the engineering ladder, which we'll talk about, and they also run the Dev Dojo program, which is our internal training system, which we'll always talk about. And kind of things that go across all of them. Project support, governance. It says AI native culture here, but if you're here for the last speaker, I'm just going to cover that bit up a little bit. He's in the front row, I can't hide. But yeah, we look after a lot of that as well. Governance obviously is really important. And again, because we have a financial product, we have to govern things. We have to do that, serious. So, all right. So as far as like getting information back from our business on the engineering side, we use a product called DX for the developer experience. They were recently bought by Atlassian. I'm sure there's lots of Atlassian fans in the house, so that's okay. Yay! So we used to do it through this. We used to do this internally using a Google form. And again, we're going out to like 600 to 800 engineers, so Google Forms at that scale were not fun. And agreeing all the questions and doing all the analysis and everything was not fun. So we basically went to DX and we started using their system. And these are the 4 components of that system. If you kind of ignore the product name for a bit, just to talk about the concept, this is the value we get out of this for the whole of the team. The snapshot is the first thing we do. We send a survey out to everybody. We make it super easy for people to answer. It's usually a multiple choice, but with comments. And people, they get a couple of weeks to go and do this. It's a certain number of questions that we try to keep as small as possible, and they try to be as repeatable as possible so we get the same kind of information back. And this is done every 3 months. So every 3 months, the survey goes out, people fill it in. The second piece of kind of information that we have are data connections. So the DX system, we also plug it into like GitHub code repos. We monitor pull requests, CI/CD systems. We even started plugging it into the scheduling systems because we had a lot of feedback that people were not happy with the number of meetings and things like that. And we were trying to understand how many meetings do you have, how much focus time do you have. It's easy for people to kind of say what they have, but if you can actually pull that into the same system that you're getting people's opinions on, it makes it a lot easier to kind of track it and extrapolate from it. So we're pulling in a lot of things from that. Then we go into the triage stage. So the snapshot is only engineers. It's only software developers, individual contributors. The triage is done by the engineering managers mainly. They go through all of their results and they say, what are my top problems? What can I fix? How long is it going to take to fix? What resources do I need to fix it? So we try to focus on these things, and at first we tried to get the low-hanging fruit because we've been doing this for just over a year now, and we've kind of got through those now. So now we're looking at things that take multiple quarters. Sorry if I keep saying quarters, it's a public company, so we talk about quarters. And we try to see how we can improve that. I'm very happy to say that generally speaking, our scores have gone up quite a lot since we first started doing that. We've managed to get rid of some of these issues because we can quantify them a little bit more now. It's not just kind of like, you know, I feel this or I feel that. We can actually look at this big pile of data and do it. And that's where we come into the action items. And we try to design action items to really be doable. So we don't just want to check a box. We actually want to make a change that's going to make people's lives easier. Because again, we're not a super big company, and it's a very competitive market, so we want to keep as many good people as we can. So we really do want to make the changes for it. So yeah, my team works with all the engineering managers and all the engineers on this, and we see this as something that we see going for a couple more years in the future sort of thing, to make sure that we can improve things. So as I say, the other thing that Engineering Office does is we try to improve people's lives. So when people join, we onboard people. We have like a buddy system, like a mentor system for people when they join, because we have people joining from all over the world and in Japan as well. So it's very important to us that people can get up to speed quickly and they don't feel left out. We're a hybrid company, so we're not in the office every day. So it's very important that people can feel like they have someone to talk to. They're not just sat at home in this new company not knowing what's going on. So it's been really helpful for us to like have a developed system for doing that. And also when people move to different teams, that helps as well because they may be moving to a very different model. And also when people come back from maternity or paternity leave, we set up people with a mentor as well to, in Japan often people take maternity leave for a year. So when they come back, that's quite a long time and things have moved on a lot in technology. So it helps people get back up to speed and learn what's been happening since they left. Technical onboarding is the same as that. If you join a new team, we actually make sure that you have a mentor who can explain all the technology changes that you're going to have. And again, that's really important when we talk about the financial products, because there's compliance, and you need to make sure you do it right, otherwise we get in trouble. Continuous learning is basically we just want people to keep learning, hence the name continuous learning. It's really important, I think, for people to do this, especially when you're like me and you're kind of getting old in your career, but you're still interested to learn all the new things that all the kids are learning. It's really important that we can keep doing that. So we have like O'Reilly's Safari products, and we have a whole bunch of other ways of doing that. And we have internal things, like we have AMA sessions with some of the senior engineers. We have a lot of just one-off kind of sessions that people can run about technology, so we can learn a lot of stuff, and the whole of engineering office organizes that. Dev Dojo, as I say, is our internal training thing. We have a lot of people who put courses together on machine learning and lots of other subjects to train people up on what is the latest thing in Mercari. There is a big thing in Japan where we actually take a lot of university graduates in on the 1st of April and the 1st of October every year. So Dev Dojo is definitely run in October and April so that we can capture those people as they come in and get them up to speed as quickly as possible. Offboarding is when people go for those career breaks. We want to make sure that we capture every bit of information from those people before they go on maternity or move to a different team or just take time out of their career sort of thing. We want to make sure that we get all the information off them. So it's very important that we do this for people. So we spend a lot of time collaborating with a lot of teams to do that. I put the word AI native on there again. Don't get angry with me. So another thing that my team's really interested in at the moment is automating the life cycle. We say AI native. We just want people to get used to and comfortable taking on AI native tooling and not being afraid of it, but using it in the correct place and responsibly, rather than just generating slop and things like that, because anyone can do that. But there is a lot of things you can do which allow you to do things quicker or allow you to do things that you could never do before. And that's where we kind of mean by AI native, just to really think about what people are doing with it. We do a lot of things with engineering officers, a lot of things with engineers to talk about these kind of things, because we've been looking at it for a couple of years now, and we're kind of over that initial kind of hump, and people are a little bit more settled down with a lot of the tooling like Claude Code and previously Cursor and previously GitHub and Copilot and things like that. Knowledge bases, like a lot of places, we use Confluence tooling. Notion is our main knowledge base right now. I don't know how many people have used Notion either personally or in business. It's quite an interesting sort of tool. It's quite different from Confluence, if that's your main kind of thing. Integrates a lot of things. It's very integrated with its own AI tooling. And it is very interesting. It has some weak points, for sure, just like every system does, but it's actually not that bad. We're kind of getting used to it. We started using it about 6 or 8 months ago, so we're kind of fairly through that. And again, engineering office, we've been leading the way with that. We had to learn it before everybody else did so that we could answer any of the questions that the engineers and the other staff had. And again, the information lifecycle. Who here loves making documentation? All of you, I can see. Yeah, hundreds of hands going up right now. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, we spend a lot of time doing that. Spend a lot of time asking people about their documentation. And again, especially when we talk about being AI native, as was said before, like if the information in there is not good, the AI is just going to pull out what it can find. So we have to make sure that whenever something is not so good, we remove that from the system. And hopefully that is going to improve things overall. But you have to spend, in a company, you have to spend time talking to people and explaining that not only do they need to create this documentation, they also have to remove it when it's no longer valid. Otherwise, you're going to create bad situations. So we do pretty well with that on information lifecycle, to be honest. It's not too bad. Technical services. So we kind of do a lot of work with teams on larger projects and things like this. So if we're moving like database systems and things like that, like we've moved over to TiDB, or if we're moving data centers, or if there's a large thing going on, we will offer to help project manage and program manage that for teams so that they don't have to spend their resources doing it. So we find a lot of engineering teams appreciate that. Budgeting, as I've said, is super popular. Who here likes budgeting? Yeah, everybody's hand's gone up as well. Excellent, excellent. It's good to see you're very progressive on this. So we help people with budgeting, and by helping with budgeting, I mean we go and check some of the numbers for people. We work with the accounting teams, we work with the forecasting teams, so that software developers don't have to. And over the time, we've built up a good understanding of how this actually works with procurement teams and all this kind of stuff. So it makes it a lot easier for people, basically. And proof of concept support. We're always doing POCs in the company. We love doing POCs. But obviously, you need to have a framework for doing that to make sure that you're making the decision in an intelligent way. So we do try and help that as well. Again, because we can see over the whole of the software development teams, so we can make sure that Team A and Team B and TC are kind of doing it in a repeatable manner. The engineering ladder. So you can actually go and have a look at this. This is actually public domain. We have a grade system in Mercari for different levels. So you start off at level 1, and you go up to MG2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and above. And we call this the engineering ladder. It's to help people kind of structure their careers and understand where they fit in the organization from a development point of view. I was part of the team that was looking after it for about a year. My colleague Yuki-san's team now looks after this. Some other companies do use this. Some law companies, technical law companies are using it. It's Creative Commons 0. So pretty much everyone can take a look at this, and it gives you an idea of, it'll say like, at this grade, you must be helping this type of team. When you move up a grade, you should be behaving more strategically, so you should be sharing more things around teams. And then you go up again, and it's like across the whole business. So it gives it a whole scale and scope for each of them. So if your company doesn't really have like a structure for that kind of thing, and you're kind of looking for an example, that one is out there. We also help with governance and guidelines, again, partly because we have a payment arm, but also because we try to do the cost of the whole business. Strange things like survey guidelines. We found that lots and lots of teams were doing surveys, but they were all kind of random. So we put in place different survey guidelines about what questions to ask, what questions were useless, how to actually grade these things, how to do the analysis, and how to feed it back. Because the one thing that we always found was people would do surveys, but they would never go back to the people who answered the surveys to tell them what they had changed because of the survey. I see a lot of nodding, actually, for that one. So we made sure that absolutely what anybody has to do when they run a survey is they go back to the people who took the time to fill in the survey and say, we changed this because of your answers to our survey. So that's part of the survey governance we did. Security asset management, as I mentioned, we work with the security team to make sure that all of our security assets are updated and kept up to date, because that's kind of important as well. That's a legal requirement, I think, in most countries now. We do a blog publishing because our engineering blog has got like 1,400 posts on it now, something like this. And we encourage all of our software developers to write blog posts about whatever they're working for. Again, we also support security with our AI deployments. Surprisingly, security are really interested in AI. Don't know why that is. I seem really obsessed with it. But that's kind of it. Oh yeah, and budgeting. Did I mention budgeting? We also have like everyone, we have a GitHub area. We sponsor Python right now. We have over 85 public repos. And again, this is something that the engineering office looks after and coordinates. So we also contribute code upstream to a lot of things as well, which we help coordinate. Right now, we're doing a lot of work with TiDB, which is a database that we're migrating to right now. But a large percentage of engineers in Mercari support different open source things in their own time and on company time to kind of keep them going. So we do try and help them with that. We're big fans of open source, so we do try to support it as much as we can with time and money. So we often get speakers in to come and talk to us about open source as well. This is a little bit stranger. This is our engineering principles framework. We kind of got feedback a lot that some software development managers and kind of new hires were sort of struggling to understand the culture and the structure of Mercari's engineering team. So we created this kind of 4-step sort of program that people could follow to try and understand what we were doing. Collaborate openly sounds really obvious. This was because we were just coming out of the COVID time when people were working from home a lot. And people were finding it difficult to really understand what had been shared. It was actually, people were doing things and not realizing that they hadn't shared how or why they'd done it. So we created that so that people would actually think about that. Did you share this thing? Did you not share this thing? Some people didn't really know that about it. Grow Together was the same thing. We want to learn from each other, so people only have to be solved once, and then you can just move on, so you don't have people solving a problem, and the next day suddenly solving the next problem. Solving through mechanisms was to make things scalable and repeatable. Now and then we would solve a problem, but it just didn't scale to the rest of the business. So it actually was better just to go back and rethink the actual solution itself. And the last one sounds really obvious, passion for the product. Sometimes we would get so deep into the technology side of things, we would kind of forget that somebody at home, 1 in 5 Japanese people was sat at home using our application to buy and sell things. And sometimes we would lose track of that. So we just have to remind people that, no, you should be doing that because, ultimately we do this for the people because they use our product and they pay for things and that's how we get paid, and that's always a good thing. So, tech PR is an interesting part of engineering office. This is kind of the public thing, so we don't rely on our marketing team to do technical PR. They look a little bit confused when we start talking to them sometimes. We have our own YouTube channel, Mercari Gears it's called. It has a crazy number of subscribers, it really does. We do a lot of live events as well, both in Tokyo and Bangalore. We had an event last October, I think it was, October, November, Mercari Gears 2025. Had over 1,000 people come and have a look at some presentations that we did. A lot of those are actually on the YouTube site if anybody wants to see it. As I say, we have an engineering blog that we kind of curate with the engineers as well. Quite a lot of engineers, they want to publish something, they want to tell people about something, but they don't really know where to do it, and they don't want to do it on their own private blog, so we try to make that as easy as possible to put through the company blog. So that's quite a popular thing as well. We have a social media thing. X is really big in Japan. We don't use it as much as we used to, but it's still something we share a lot of, Mercari Dev. I think the YouTube channel probably we use a bit more now. All right, that is the only AI image in this whole thing. I wish I looked like that. No. And to be honest, I only put that in because I was really curious to see how our intellectual property lawyers were going to deal with an AI image because it has to go through a check with them. So I put that in just to see whether their system worked. And they told me there is no copyright infringement in this image. So if you see someone who looks like you, tell me because I'd be interested. All right, and that's the end. If anyone has any Q&A about an engineering office, please let me know. Thank you very much.
I imagine this is the question at the forefront of a lot of people's minds is, you mentioned contribution to open source projects.
Yeah.
How do you square that with the bottom line? How do you justify that within the business? Because obviously it doesn't happen everywhere, and it'd be great to happen other places.
I mean, on one side, for tools that we use, it's very simple. If we're going to use it, we're going to contribute to it. And there is no bottom line figure associated with that. It's all to do with the value that it has to us. So TiDB is probably one of the biggest ones that we're doing right now just because that's a database that we're shifting to. So it's more a question of what do we need to improve on TiDB to make it work for us, and then we just contribute that back. So it's a very simple equation for us. Some of the other things, like people want to contribute to individual projects themselves because they've done stuff, that's not a problem either. I mean, we'd rather you don't spend your whole day doing it, but if people, through their work, find a solution to an open source project, that's not a problem either. So, yes. Oh. 1, 2. Which one? What are we doing? I'm going with May. Whatever May says.
I guess I'm closer to the mic. Thank you for sharing all the examples of the stuff you do and the process you have. Do you have any examples of when you've got rid of process and how you've identified process that is weighing stuff down? Because you can just look at every problem and be like, well, we'll just come up with a new thing. But how do you stop that from eating everything?
When we do the DX, developer experience stuff, that's where we usually kind of decide how much of a drag something is on the business and how much it's impacting. Recently, we had one system where literally every other comment in the DX feedback comments thing was about this one system. So that just immediately flags it as, we need to fix this system. And we did. That was literally the thing we did the day after we closed the survey. So that's how we would do it initially. We would, as part of the triaging, we would just go in as an organization and help PMs identify the biggest drag processes usually. So, but when we fix all those problems, it'll be great.
Yeah, I've kind of got two questions. So the first question is, how do you make a decision to do something like move to a completely brand new database technology that nobody's ever heard of before? And like, how do you justify like migrating to it, even though you're not sure if it's fit for purpose because you're just about contributing to it, right? So like a lot of people find out that, oh, I switched to MongoDB and this was actually an architectural mistake for my entire open source project. So maybe does the same problem happen in the company where it's like, you know, this new exciting thing that people want to switch and migrate to, but actually it's not really worth it? So how do you make the decision like that it's actually worth migrating and contributing to?
Thank you for that question. Are you suggesting that some engineers are drawn to the shiny? No, it's a problem across the whole industry. It's a good question. So we try to coordinate the conversation. Engineering office, a lot of us are technical in nature, but not software developers. So we kind of will have the conversation and structure it correctly so that we're actually talking about real things rather than shiny things. How to know whether it is the right or wrong decision, that often comes a bit later. But as far as that initial decision, we actually sit down with the relevant kind of people who are going to actually use this thing, both at the software developer and the manager level and the VP level and everything else up to the CTO, and actually decide, you know, which is the best way to do that. Recently, TiDB, which I hadn't heard of before we started looking at it, they decided to use it over quite a few others. And it was literally everybody just sat down and listed the pros and cons of each of them and tried to apply this idea of scale to things very early about how big did we want to actually take this thing. Because that's often where these decisions fall over, right, for architecture. They don't, it worked great in this POC we did, but it just didn't scale. So does that answer that question? It's not a great answer, but sorry.
Second question then. So it looks like you use like a lot of tools, like for example, Notion, right? And it's like, that seems like you're depending on a lot of third parties for the things that you think are most valuable, such as a knowledge base. Like, how does the company think about the fact that they're like giving all of this knowledge away basically for free to a company that you trust for some reason, like Notion? And then like, what happens if they turn that off, or like, what happens if like they up the price or something? Like, it seems like kind of crazy that for, you know, just note-taking documentation that you would actually not self-host that. Like, just kind of curious how these things come about.
Yeah, that's a good question. The conversation about Notion specifically was because at the time, a couple of years ago, we were looking for something that would integrate our ideas for AI in the future, and that has actually kind of panned out how we thought it would. As far as using third-party tools, given the size of our software development team and the fact that we want them to work on the product for our customers, we just have to take that hit that we're going to work with, like we use Google, for example. You know, we use these different tooling for different things. We just have to take the risk that the price could go up. I mean, that's obviously a big conversation with AI tokens right now. But yeah, where other companies have already done it better and solved the problem and have a roadmap, we kind of go with that rather than, you know, making that something else we build, because we don't really want to do that. We want to focus on building our marketplace for our customers. So. Is this question about budgeting? Because I really wanted to know. It's not even my team budgeting, it's Wendel's team, so.
I want some budget. So you're clearly investing a lot in developer culture, developer experience. My question is around, as somebody running the engineering office or part of the engineering office, do you create a boundary around the engineering group to protect, maintain, build that culture? Or do you do a lot of outreach to other parts of the business to build understanding of the engineering culture so they're not under threat?
It's a bit of both, actually. I spend a lot of time with talent acquisition and HR and our organizational development teams, kind of explaining to them what we want and what we don't want. And at the same time, I spend a lot of time talking to engineering managers and ICs trying to explain why you need to talk about money and why you need to do this and trying to help them with that. So yeah, the answer is both, basically, so that everybody roughly kind of gets what they want.